Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Adulam here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if this is your first time of coming across my channel, kindly subscribe and turn on the bell icon so that you'll be the first to know anytime I post a new video. And for my returning subscribers, thank you so much. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew a simple baby girl dress with a cap sleeve. So if you're interested, keep on watching. My satin, this is 1 yard, and I have my 1 yard of tulle or net. This is the lining, and I'll be using this for the band and the bow for this dress. So I'm going to start by cutting the lower part so that whatever I have left, I'll use it now to cut the upper part of the dress. So I'm going to open it up and fold, same way you fold your fabric when you're making a full circle dress. So now you can see it's already folded. So I am going to check the waist measurement. So my fabric is on fold, so I'm going to divide the waist measurement. The waist measurement is 20 inches. I'm going to multiply that by 3 and then divide by 6.28, which is the formula for cutting a full flay dress. So if I do that calculation, I'll have 9.5. So I'm going to mark the 9.5 from this point here. This is 9.5. I'll mark it all round. This is a 9.5. I just marked that out, as you can see. And I also mark out 10 inches for the length of this lower part. Actually, the full length should be 11, but I mark out 10 because I'll be adding net to this lower part. So now I'm going to cut this out and keep it aside, and then whatever I have left, I'll use it to cut out the upper part of this dress. Cut out. This is the lower parts which we did earlier, and now I used my bodice pattern. This is a 6-month-old bodice pattern to cut it out for the upper parts of this dress. So if you don't know how to draft a basic bodice, so like I was saying, if you don't know how to draft a basic bodice, you can check out my video on how to draft a basic bodice for a baby girl, and you get to know how to do all that. Okay, so now I'm going to keep this aside and I will cut open this flay. Okay, so if you're watching up to this moment, our April intensive online training is coming up. So if you're interested in any of our April classes, kindly check the description box for the number to reach out for more details on that. So now I'm going to open this up this way, and I'll use my gather stitch now to run it till I get to this other end. So as you can see, I just did the gather stitch. I'm going to pull this until I have the 20 inches, which is the waist measurement. Okay, so I'm going to pull just like that. So here, as you can see, I have 21 inches here. 1 inch is for my sewing allowance, while the actual waist measurement is 20 inches. So I'm going to keep this aside now, and we'll sew the upper parts before we continue. So this is the upper part which I have cut out already, and here I have a sleeve pattern for a 6-month-old. So I'll be using this to cut out the cap sleeve. If you don't know how to draft a basic sleeve pattern, you can also check my video on that. So now this line is the armhole line, as you can see, and anything cap sleeve should not come below this armhole line. It should from this armhole line and go up. So you can decide to make it shorter. It's depend on what you're trying to make. So now from here you can see that I have 3.5 as the armhole line. So I'm going to make mine 3 inches. That is the cap sleeve. So I'm going to mark that point. This is 3 inches. But when you want to cut on your fabric, make sure to add your sewing allowance. So I'm going to connect that line straight now. So like I said earlier, you can decide how short you want your cap sleeve to be, and you know this cap sleeve does not have any plate on this shoulder area. So I'm going to cut this off now, and I will use this to cut out on my fabric. What I'll be using as the cap sleeve, and as you can see I have this and the lining. So I'm going to start by sewing this edge first. So I'm going to run this, and I will repeat the same on this second one, and then I will give it a good press. So here, as you can see, I just did that and I top stitch. So I'm going to turn it over now and give it a good press, after which I will now cut out the excess lining on it, and then I will start by joining the upper part. So here, as you can see, the cap sleeve is ready. Okay, but when you want to sew on the upper part, make sure to note the back and the front side of your sleeve. So I'm going to keep this aside now, and I'll take the upper part and start joining the shoulders and the neckline together before I will now join the cap sleeve. So here, as you can see, I just sewed the neckline together with the main fabric, that is the lining and the main fabric, and I top stitch. So now I'm left with the armhole area. So I'm going to take the cap sleeve now. As you can see, I separated the lining. So I'll take the cap sleeve, and then I'm going to notch the center, and I'll repeat the same on the second one. So I'm going to place it on this as it is now, and keep on sewing it till where I want it to be, and I'll also repeat the same on this other side before I will now close this. I'm going to bring the lining now this way and then close it up. So after sewing, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to turn it inside out the same way you turn it inside out if you're making a no sleeve body. So I'm going to bring that part out, and then I will join the lower part of the dress. So this is it. I just turn it inside out. Now this is the back side of it, and this is the front. So I'm going to give this a good press now before I'll close the sides together. So this is it. After giving it a press, though not a good one, I'm going to trim this off, the excess lining that just came out, and then I'll be using this as the band on this waist area. So I'll just pin it here before I'll close the sides together. So here it is. As you can see, I just added the band. So now before joining the lower parts of this dress, I'll be adding the net to the lining. Remember that net is included in this dress. So the lining, I just cut out the lining. As you can see, you use the same method you cut your satin to cut the lining, and I just open it up as well. So I am going to take my net now and cut it as many as I can, because this is just 1 yard. So I'm going to keep all these aside. So here is my net, and now the difference here now on this lining is that it's shorter than the main fabric itself. Here I have 8 inches, and now the length of this dress should be 11 inches. So I am going to cut out 3 inches or 3¼ because of the sewing allowance on the net. Cuts out 3½ inch. Half is for the sewing allowance. I'm going to take this now and use my gather stitch and run each and every one of these before joining it on the lining. See, I have all gathered together and joined. I used, as you already know, 3½, and the height of each of these is by 60 inches. So here I have 8 pieces of it gathered together and joined together to form this long strip. So now I'm going to take my lining. So here is my lining now. I am going to take this and join it on this part. Okay, after sewing it, I'm going to use my weaving and weave so that it will have a nice edge there. Okay, so I'm going to take this now. Okay, here is the right side I'll be using. This is where I joined. That is why you're still seeing this thread. After sewing, I will now cut those off. So I'm going to take it now. As I'm sewing, I'll keep on adjusting it. After sewing, I'm going to turn it over this other way. So this is what it looks like after joining it on that lower part. And as you can see on the waist, I just gathered it, because you need to gather it same way you did on the satin or your main fabric that you're working with, and make sure that the waist is also the same with what you're working with. So now I'm going to join. Before joining, I will give this a light press so that it will flatten up. Okay, and then I will start by joining it separately. So I will take this part that we did first and join it with the upper part, and I'll also take the lining now and join with this lining for the upper part. So it's very easy. After joining, you just close up the dress. So let me just join and show you how it looks. So after joining it, this is what I have. As you can see, I join it separately. So I believe now you can make this beautiful dress, and you can see that it's very easy and simple to go about. So that is it for today. Please subscribe if you have not, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so that you get to know anytime I post a new video. So guys, see you soon.